We'll switch over to regular season play with the Seattle Mariners here over the past week. Not the easiest past. I mean, we talked about it even last week. It wasn't that easy. I think before yesterday's game, before Sunday, the Mariners had lost 10 of their last 11. So this spans over the kind of the earlier part of May. So let's get right into it. Over the past week, playing their 3-game series against the Astros. May 2nd at the Astros, a 0-3 loss. So as you know, when we get shut out, nobody gets player of the game.
Yeah.
May 3rd at the Astros, a 0-4 loss. So again, no player of the game. But just a small note, Dusty Baker makes history. Baker becomes the 12th MLB manager with 2,000 wins, becoming the first black manager to reach the achievement. So Dusty breaking some barriers there. That was, I like Dusty Baker as a manager, don't get me wrong, but it's because he's with Houston. That's kind of like, but cool to see Dusty reach that achievement, and certainly, obviously, really cool to see him break that barrier there. Yeah. And obviously, I wanted to keep that noted. But keeping it up here with the scores wrapping up the Houston series, May 4th at the Astros. So get swept, a 2-7 loss. Played the game, third baseman Eugenio Suarez going 1 for 3 with a run and 2 RBIs, but obviously disappointed to get swept by Houston. Like I said, you want to be any semblance of a playoff team, you're going to have to just win series flat out. Don't care how you do it. Don't care if it's winning the first and the last games of a 3-game set, winning the first 2, winning the last 2. You got to win series. And if you're going to do it in this division right now, you have to beat Houston, because Houston, until they falter, they're the team to beat. And you did it in the first series. Good. This one, you get swept. So obviously, well, that's the thing too, is it's not like you can just lose a couple here in the beginning. You play the entirety of your schedule against Houston before All-Star break.
Ooh.
So you have to make that count.
Yeah.
Because if you can have like a winning record against Houston going into the All-Star break, I'd say that sets you up pretty well.
It does.
But, we'll see. Focusing over to Tampa Bay here, and the Rays in the home series against Tampa Bay after playing them on the road last week. 4-game set against the Rays here, May 5th versus the Rays, a 3-4 loss. So a tough one there, a 1-run differential. Player of the game, designated hitter that day, Adam Frazier going 1 for 3 with a run and an RBI. May 6th versus the Rays, a 7-8 loss. So another tough game there. Bel's first game in the press box. So tough to have you set out there, but it was obviously exciting. So that's good to know.
Exciting.
I think Jared Kelenic had a 2-run homer. Was it in the 8th, bottom of the 8th, or is that in the top? Yeah, Jared Kelenic takes the lead, bottom of the 8th. But then obviously Tampa Bay, I think it was Manuel Margot.
Yep.
He was a menace.
He
in
did
that series.
So good that series.
Was it 3 homers in 3 games?
Yes, and they all came in the 8th inning or later. Yes. Yep.
Little stat right there. All right. And what that game, and the next game he had a grand slam, and we'll get to it. We'll get back to the scores here. So that 7-8 loss, player of the game, once again, Eugenio Suarez at third base, going 2 for 3 with 3 runs, 3 RBIs, and 2 walks. He had 2 homers that game, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Suarez showing up there with the power, now leads the Mariners in home runs with 6. May 7th versus the Rays, a 2-8 loss. Things kind of fall apart there, like we mentioned. Margot with a grand slam, player of the game, second baseman Adam Frazier going 2 for 3 with a 1 RBI and a walk. And then to close out the series, looking to avoid being swept, the Rays coming in with a 6-game winning streak, the Mariners coming in with a 6-game losing streak. They win that game 2-1 in 10 innings. So Bel again in the press box for that one, getting to see a walk-off there. In George Kirby's debut, coming straight from Double A. We'll get to that in team-related news, so we can get the roster moves there. But they're able to walk it off in the 10th inning, bottom of the 10th. George Kirby with a great debut, and he's our player of the game, actually. Starting pitcher George Kirby going 6 innings, only allowing 4 hits, no runs. So obviously no earned runs, no walks, and 7 strikeouts. He's the first pitcher in Mariners history to throw 6 scoreless innings in his MLB debut. So some history there for Mr. Kirby there. I'm going to have trouble thinking about George Kirby because I just think of the video game character the entire time. We're going to have to come up with a graphic for that. But a great start. We'll get to him more in a second here. So kind of tough. You win, one of those 7 that we just went over?
Oh, yeah. And that last game, I mean, they came back at the end to win, but it was
offense struggling again.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't until the 7th inning that anybody put points on the board. So, yeah.
God. I mean, nice to get a win on Mother's Day, though, and walk-offs are always fun. I think, again, I think I said it in a tweet, but back-to-back homestands where the Sunday game ends in a walk-off.
Yeah.
Because that was the first game that I was in the press box, and that was that 13-inning game against Kansas City where Winker was able to walk it off, and then you go to this one, and then they walk it off against the Rays in the 10th inning as Ty France gets a single. So with that being said, talking about this France guy that we talked about a lot here, we go over to Player of the Week, and yes, again, Ty France for me. I had Ty France as my Player of the Week with 29 at-bats, 8 hits. And numbers a little bit down, but it was a tough week for the team as a whole.
Yeah.
1 RBI, 8 total bases, a walk, a 276 average, a 300 on base percentage, a 276 slugging percentage, a 576 on base plus slugging, and 1 walk-off, like we just mentioned. Bell went over with our young center fielder, Mr. Julio Rodriguez, and we'll look at the stats here. Interested to see the selection for Julio. What was the determination behind that?
Well, I mean, it was honestly being in the press box and seeing him steal that base to get his 10th steal
leading
and
Major
still
League Baseball.
Leading the league. Yeah.
I get that.
That was what swayed it more. Like you said, it was kind of a tough week. Normally I see what people's averages are, and it just, the numbers were pretty low. So I went with something that I thought was really cool about Julio.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the stolen base, right? I think that, there was worry. And again, I get the worry with bringing up guys early. I'm still worried about Kirby. We'll get that at in a second.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to note, like you talk about the stolen bases, that's just another way that you contribute to this club. Because obviously being on first is great, but you move to second, you're in scoring position technically. And with his speed, there's so many plays where it's it looks like just a ground out, and he's able to run it out. Getting on base, being a guy that you can count on to get on base, to steal bases, and to move up, to make pitchers, because you worry about that as a pitcher.
Oh, definitely. There were
plenty
of times.
So Julio's on base, so I have to know that he's thinking about that.
Yeah.
And a guy that, obviously is still a lot of fun, right? He's always got a smile on his face. I don't have the video for you, but I met Julio a few days ago. There was a signing over in Mill Creek, and I told him I'd see him in the press box, and the dude's face lit up. You can see in the video his eyes. I don't know if it was more surprise, but he's like, but it's just a lot of fun. And I think obviously he's 21. He's 21. He hasn't reached anywhere near he's 1 year older than me, not to age anybody.
Aging me.
But baseball prime is like 26, 27. So I'm not, he will just continue to get better.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So yes, I think that's a solid pick there. The not so well. There's like one good thing in injury news here. We look over to injury news. On May 3rd, it was announced that Kyle Lewis would begin his rehab assignment joining the Rainiers. Kyle Lewis has had a solid time in Tacoma so far. He's had some home runs. He's had some solid hitting. He had one game where I think he went on like 1 for 5, but he's working his way back. And I'm really, it's going to be tough when Kyle Lewis, is ready to join the ball club again, which has been talked about. He might join him next week. Someone's going to have to go down, and it might be Jared. But the thing with Kelnick is that he's been, the coaching staff has talked about this. Scott Service has talked about this. He's been seeing the ball well. They like how he's swinging the bat. He's just been unlucky, like a lot of players on this team, like Jesse Winker. Suarez is, we look at the expecting batting averages. The Mariners should be hitting the ball better. But the shift, obviously, and it'll be interesting to see next season when they ban the shift, how well some of these guys do. But I don't know. It's my thing with Jared Kelnick, too, is he's 22 years old.
Really? I didn't know that about him.
I could be very wrong. But my thing is that he's young, right? Just like Julio. And, like I said, he's 22 years old, born July 16th, 1999. He's 22 years old. He's 1 year older than Julio Rodriguez. He didn't see he's seen some time in Tacoma, but he's still 22. Like I said, baseball prime is 26, 27. He's gonna be fine. He's going to be fine. But if the pressure continues to add on to him and they don't let him just play his game, he's gonna be wrecked. Because if you're put it in your shoes, right? If you're a younger, just say that you're in your position, right? And you've just got people constantly judging every single move you make.
Tough, yeah.
it's a lot of pressure. And then another person comes up around your age group and starts doing maybe a little bit better, and they're like, oh, why isn't he playing like Julio? That's just more and more.
Comparisons,
Yes.
yeah.
And this is a guy that's your teammate. You're supposed to be having fun with this guy, and they're stacking you guys up. So I want people to cool the brakes on Jared Kelenic. I wanted that to happen last year too, and he had a good September and a solid few games in October. You know, I think about that game against the Athletics last year. He hit a big double into the right center field wall that helped the Mariners win that game. He's gonna be fine. And we talked about this week with that 2-run homer and it being a pinch hitter. I hate, not because it's Dylan Moore, but because you bring in Dylan Moore to play right field. Jared Kelenic is more than capable in right field. Just leave him. I think he'll be fine. That's me personally. I think Jared Kelenic will be fine. So continuing with the injury news here, on the 7th, we can see here we've got a great photo of it, but let's talk about Tom Murphy first. You see his name mentioned. Catcher Tom Murphy was placed on the 10-day IL with a dislocated shoulder.
Yeah, so we actually saw
that was pretty. Was that brutal to look at?
We didn't see it so much happen, I would say, but we saw his reaction after it. So he had the ball in his hand and he just kind of drops it and then like tries to lift his arm, signaling that like something is wrong. So yeah.
That's disgusting. So that's why, you know, the club is without Murphy right now, and why we'll see a corresponding move to bring up Carl Raleigh. But we look back here on the same day, J.P. Crawford was pulled from the game with back spasm. You can see this photo by the great Liv Lyons.
Great photo.
I noticed during the game that J.P. Crawford was taken out and Dylan Moore was slotted into shortstop. I said, what the hell is that about? So I tweeted about it. And I was texting with Liv down in the camera well, and I said, hey, you got anything? Do you see anything? She says, I've actually got a photo of it. I think this is when he got injured. And we'll go back to it here. You can see this is the photo she got. You can see him going down. JP had kind of something that they preach to not do, is slide into first or jump in, like dive into first base to get the bag. And so got injured, he got pulled. But that was really cool to get that immediately when that story happened. And we would later be told in the press box that
breaking news.
He had a back spasm. So we'll see about that. You know, obviously with these next series, he's playing the Phillies, which is his former ball club, which I'm sure he would love to do. But we haven't. I don't think I've got the lineup yet.
They did rest him last night.
Yeah. I don't have the lineup yet, so we don't know at the time being, and we'll probably find out here in a few hours. But there is that. On the 8th, right-handed pitcher reliever Ken Giles was transferred to the 60-day injured list with a right middle finger sprain. So that's not good. Ken Giles is a guy that a few years ago, the Mariners signed him last year. A few years ago was a top reliever in this league, and it was really exciting to look at the performance of last year's bullpen for the Mariners and add a guy like Giles. And he suffered a setback in spring training, and now seeing him transfer to the 60-day is not ideal. But I think if you can get him midway through the season, you add another great reliever into a group of solid relievers that you've got. That'll really help your ball club. But I'm just hoping that we see positive momentum with Giles there. Heading over to team-related news, we got a decent amount of roster moves here, starting on the 5th. Right-handed pitcher Riley O'Brien was recalled. Left-handed pitcher Danny Young was selected. And right-handed pitcher Matt Brash was optioned to AAA Tacoma. Right-handed pitcher Matt Festa was placed on the 15-day injured list. Left-handed pitcher Nick Margavicius was designated for assignment. Right-handed pitcher Matt Koch cleared waivers and was outrighted to AAA Tacoma. On the 7th, the big news broke that AA prospect, top pitching prospect in the Mariners organization, George Kirby, was called up from AA Arkansas, as you can see here with this great photo by Matt Bermudez. I don't like the number 68 that he's got on, but he pitched damn well. So I think he really did. I think we can let the 68 slide. But Matt, you know, I think he did a great job with the games that you guys got. Same as Liv. I'll do this right now. We have great photographers here at Converge. Man, it's so cool to be able to, you know, obviously we've got a great staff here, you know, Salman behind the camera. To have these photographers to be able to bring these photos to life is incredible. You know, and we had some great photos from Mother's Day. You'll be able to head over to our social media. So can you put what am I right here? Or am I right over here? Instagram, Circling Seattle Sports. Try to get as many of those photos as we can. You know, if we get photos during the game, we try to put them up. I don't know. I'm a simple man, so I see these ones. I'm like, this is incredible, and I think it takes our content to a greater level.
It
Like
does.
being able to have this. I think that's a great shot. But anyway, also on the 7th, catcher Kyle Raleigh was recalled from AAA with the move that Tom Murphy, obviously with a dislocated shoulder, will be out for a decent bit. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. And then on the 8th, right-handed pitcher Riley O'Brien was optioned to AAA Tacoma. So we're going to keep moving here with league notes. But before that being said, did I get the lineup? Yes, I did. Nope, Dylan Moore's a shortstop. So no JP today.
No JP.
So we'll have to try to figure out. I'll be there today. I'll try to figure out if there's any update on that.
Yeah.
But what I'll say about George Kirby, I get it. We're going to be really excited about George Kirby. He's a great prospect. He's got a lot of talent. I'm sure some great stuff. But he's just come from AA. In case you don't know, AA, AAA, majors is how that usually works. He skipped AAA. AAA is the closest that you'll get to major leagues. And he just came straight. It's like you skip 7th grade and go straight to high school, right? You're kind of skipping a step. And if you're able to do that, great. But I want people to not be so ready to put all of their chips in right now on this guy because he's young too. He's your top prospect in the organization pitching wise. I just don't want you to put all this weight on this kid because if people will watch the film from Sunday, they'll say, okay, where can we attack his pitches? What is he lacking? What maybe his off speed's a little bit lacking. Maybe his fastball's not the best control. They will watch film on him and the league will adjust, So I'm just cautioning, don't put all the pressure on this guy. If he comes out, like I was telling Bel, we were talking about it before the recording began. If he comes out and he lights it up and doesn't look back, great. There's a reaction image for you. But I just kind of want you to be cautious and don't, go over the moon just yet. So continuing with league-related notes, on the 2nd, we have 2 umpires owning up to their mistakes this week. The first, home plate umpire Chad Fairchild admitted to Mets pitcher Chris Bassett that he had missed a strike call during the game and would apologize after the inning had ended, which is really cool to see. If you're a player or anybody, right, and some official tells you something and then they go and they get it wrong and they say, hey, it's my bad. It's nice to have some accountability.
It is.
Right? So take that one. On the 4th, remember Kelsey Whitmore? We talked about her last week. She continues to make more history. Whitmore becomes the first woman to pitch in an Atlantic League game, getting out of a bases-loaded jam. So, hey, man, Kelsey Whitmore continues to make history. On the 5th, MLB umpire number 2 owns up to his mistake. Umpire Dan Bellino issues an apology after he controversially ejected Madison Bumgarner on Wednesday, taking full responsibility. It was one of those substance checks where he took his hand and was looking at it, and some words were said, and Bumgarner got ejected really shortly after that. And it was like, why are you ejecting him so quickly? I don't know. Obviously, you can't go back in time and take that back, but it's kind of nice to know that they're owning up to it. But obviously, you'd want those decisions to be, you'd want that fair level-headedness in the moment.
But maybe them admitting to the mistake will help them in future situations.
Going forward,
yeah.
Yes, I would. That's exactly that. I'm hoping that is like, okay, I made this mistake in the past. Let's correct this, and then move forward. And then on May 8th, the Mets cut Robinson Cano. The former Mariner was released by the Mets, making the 39-year-old second baseman a free agent. The Mets still owe Cano $39 million. Yeah, if you don't remember, he was traded to the Mets by our Seattle Mariners. So, I mean, it's kind of tough. Robbie's had a pretty solid career, just kind of a tough situation there for him to get cut. But, I mean, the Mets are a good ball club right now. They got a lot of good pieces. They don't want anything holding them back.
Sure.
So, I get it. So, we look at the Mariners standings here. They sit at a 13-16 record with that 6-game losing streak we talked about. Third in the AL West right now, but obviously, again, it's early, so I'm not, going to cry and be all sad about it. Looking ahead, as we mentioned, they take on the Philadelphia Phillies for a 3-game stretch. May 9th is a 6:40 start tonight. May 10th is another 6:40 start, and then May 11th versus the Phillies in a matinee game at 12:40 to wrap up that series. The Mariners then take a travel day and head over to New York to play those Mets we were just talking about.
Mhm.
May 13th through 15th. May 13th is a 4:10 p.m. Pacific time start. May 14th is also a 4:10 Pacific time start. And then May 15th at the Mets is a 10:40 a.m. start over in the Pacific time zone. So, we talked about the Mariners playing sort of having a tough skid. Doesn't get any easier. Philly's got some talent, and then the Mets are one of the top teams right now in baseball. So, doesn't
Hopefully
get
they
any
can figure it
easier.
out.
It's early season. I'm going to give them a pass, but obviously there are some holes to address.